All day I faced the toxic waste, and this red paste used to be water. Cool, clear water. Now what you're looking at is the remains of a hydraulic mine that was active in the 1850s. They had a whole series of canals and ditches dug along the ridgeline up here to feed the monitors that would wash down this hillside. And all the water and waste would come right down here into the bottom of the mine, where they would have 80 to 90 feet long tom sluice boxes. Now over the years, the bark beetle has ate up these trees so much that they all fall down, which makes it a lot harder to dig in this area. And you can see the remains those are all tailing piles from this hydraulic mine, and it's all round river rock. And right now we're standing here in August, and everything has dried up. That's why they call it dry diggings out here, and they do a lot of dry panning in this area. But not at this mine, because I own the claim and nobody's allowed out here. Claim jumpers are not welcome. So I'll give you a small tour of what's left of the mine. Actually, it's still here. It's just covered up with all this debris and trees that have fell down because of the bark beetle. We're talking massive trees, which has created quite a problem for me out here trying to dig this stuff up. But it can be done. Slowly. And like I said, they call it dry diggings out here. So if you come out here any time in the future, yeah, you're gonna get dry. And a lot of these rocks out here, I don't know if they're leverite, hematite, kimberlite, budlite, any kind of light. But they're all round river rocks. To me, they're just a rock. I look at a rock and say, hey, that's a rock. I can't identify what it is, because I really don't know. All I know is it's on my gold mine out here. But I'll tell you who does know. A guy named Jeff Williams. If you go to YouTube, look up Ask Jeff Williams. Now he's a certified geologist, and I'm not. And I'm not going to pretend to be a geologist, because I'm not. but he is. So he could tell you right away what kind of rocks these are. I have no idea. All I can say is I know it when I see it. I couldn't tell you the history of what the rock is, where it came from, how it got here, how it formed. All I know, it's a rock. But Jeff Williams could tell you. If you watch his channel, he goes into geology. He explains the metamorphic rocks and a whole bunch of other highfalutin terms that I have no clue. I got to look it up twice on Google. So you look up, ask Jeff Williams on YouTube. As far as I know, he's a really nice guy. I never met him in person, but hopefully one of these days I might. I might go out to where he's at and do some digging. I know you're bored. There's a bunch of rocks out here. I haven't been able to do a YouTube video for a while because number one is 105 degrees out, or it was, and it's too darn hot to be out here tramping around digging this stuff up. Number two, I don't know if you heard it on your national news or not, but there's a whole lot of fires going on out here in California. Wildfires. The park fire is a huge monster fire. I'm not really sure if they got it out or not yet. And over the last month or two, this whole area has been surrounded by wildfires and forest fires. So I had to pack up all my stuff, make sure it was ready to go in case we got the evacuation order. Because I'm a pretty tough guy. Not much scares me. But the thought of 100-mile-an-hour fire wind sweeping down these valleys and dancing across the trees, that's enough to make anybody panic, including me. And if you ain't scared of it, you're a fool. So the other thing I want to mention is if you do come out here to Eldorado County, keep in mind that a lot of these roads out here are very narrow, leading up to the gold fields. Some of them are only 2 lanes and barely enough passing room to go by. So if you happen to find yourself in the middle of a fire, either it's behind you or in front of you, I want you to pay real close attention to the emergency vehicles, the fire trucks, the CAL FIRE crews. They're on their way to a fire to put it out, to make sure there's no loss of life and limb. And if you're in their way on these small roads, keep in mind there ain't no barriers on the roads. No guardrails on some of these roads, and some of them go straight down 800, 900 feet. So if you're in front of these fire trucks, you ain't got nowhere to go, pal. Either you floor it and get the heck out of the way, or these fire trucks will push you out of the way. No kidding. Keep that in mind, it's very serious. So don't dilly-dally around on these roads. Especially if there's fire warnings going on. They take it very seriously out here. They have a big job to do, and there's a lot of equipment that they have to move in a hurry. And let me repeat it. If you're in the way of these fire trucks going to a fire, it's a good possibility they're going to run you off the road. No kidding. Like I said, there's no guardrails. You're going down with your car, sometimes 800 feet straight down. Just another casualty in the fire. You don't want to become that. So stay out of the way. Alright, enough of my soapbox. This hydraulic mine, back in the day, it was an active hydraulic mine. It was also owned by some of the folks that were involved with the Confederate Army of the Pacific. They had ties in with Missouri, because a lot of the miners out here came from Missouri, Independence, Overland Park. They all came out here from that area. So a lot of their brothers and sisters were involved in the Civil War. And what makes this interesting, this particular mine that I'm on, they were Southern sympathizers. Well, not all of them, but some of them. And they were involved with the Knights of the Golden Circle. That's why I'm not telling you where this is. They were Sentinels for the Knights of the Golden Circle. And rumor has it, somewhere on this property, there's a cache or several caches of Confederate weapons that have been stashed here for the war effort in the 1860s. Now I've been looking around for indications to see if I could figure out where exactly they would hide some of this stuff. Because I used to live in Missouri. There was a place called Raytown, Missouri, where Jesse James, Frank James, they had their lodging out there in a town called Kearney, Missouri. And they would stash their weapons up in the hills, right above Raytown, Missouri. If you know where I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But out here, trying to read the lay of the land and figure out where exactly they would bury all this stuff, it's kind of a puzzle, because they didn't leave no clues. At least not the ones that I can see. But they were the Knights of the Golden Circle. They were out here, they were very active. Part of the Confederate Army of the Pacific. And if you know your history about the Knights of the Golden Circle, they were a serious bunch. And some of their relatives, believe it or not, are still out here. Of course, I'm not going to name any names or who's who, but they are sentinels guarding the Confederate gold still. And yeah, I know there's a lot of Discovery Channel shows about trying to find Confederate gold. Well, think about it. Gold bars are heavy. And a lot of gold bars are really heavy. So in order to load them in a wagon and drive them from here to Alabama, is almost impossible. They'd have to take it down from here to the port of Sacramento, on down to San Francisco, onto a ship, and sail around the coast and arrive at their destination. That's gold bars. The ones that made it there. The rest of the gold, guess what? It's not lost. It's not hidden. It's right here in the ground still, waiting to be dug up by certain patriots for certain causes, which I'm not going to name. So do your research on the Knights of the Golden Circle. Very interesting group of fellers. Yeah, and the gold is still here in the ground. Because the boys back then, they figured it was the safest place to be. Instead of sticking it in a mine shaft somewhere where somebody would find it. No. You have to come out here, dig it up, pan it out like they used to, and then send it on its merry way. You know, follow the yellow brick road. So you guys out there are smart. And some of you are a lot smarter than I am. Yeah, I lived in Missouri for quite a while. I've been to Jesse James' house. And speaking of Jesse James, there's a big rumor that his father was a Baptist minister out there in Raytown. And when they heard about the gold strikes out here and the wildness of the gold camps, Reverend James came out here to preach to the miners. And somewhere in an unmarked grave, which there are 15,000 unmarked graves in Eldorado County, lies the body of Reverend James. Now, rumor has it that Jesse and Frank came out here looking for their dad, although there's no written record of it. That's a rumor. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But those boys were dedicated family members, and it would make sense that they would come out here looking for their dad. Wouldn't you? If my daddy was missing in the gold fields, I certainly would come out here and take a look. Ask questions and look around. It's only natural. Now, Jesse and Frank, they rode with the Quantrell boys. Border wars between Missouri and Kansas. That was a whole different part of history, which it looks like we're about to repeat again with all this nonsense going on about who is what. I won't get too political, but you know, you can't call a tree a rose and expect people to believe it. That is a tree, it is not a rose. A bird is not a cat, and a cat is not a dog. Just because you say it is, doesn't mean it's true. Common sense. Oh, hey, Eddie Eldorado, how come you're not showing us the gold? Take a guess. Some things are more valuable than gold and silver. The history of this property is golden in and of itself. The history tie-in with the Knights of the Golden Circle, the James boys, and all the famous ruffians that came out here to Hangtown. Some of them never left. They're in some unmarked grave somewhere, And we don't know where they are. But they were here. They made their mark. And they're legends in history. Correct? And those who don't learn the lessons of history are damn well sure to repeat it. Let's not do that again with a civil war. Or the conflict between the states. Or the conflict between, I got purple hair and you don't. Utter nonsense. Must be some sort of special brain disease that makes an ordinary boy say he's a girl. Well, now, just because you say you're a girl, I don't have to accept that now, do I? Well, am I getting too political? Well, that's just how I feel, man. A lot of us feel the same way. So there's a tour of part of the mine again, from a different side. And how the hell am I going to move all these trees out of the way, man? I got one hell of a winch. But I need some super duper heavy duty logging equipment to move these trees out of the way. Otherwise it's going to be piecemeal digging under them, underneath the trees. Which I'm prepared to do when it gets to be about 65 degrees. Ain't no fun digging in 105 degree weather. Even though I got a White's metal detector and a mine lab, I am not hiking that heavy equipment, delicate heavy equipment, up and down these trees. So if I trip and fall, well, there goes $5 grand in my mine lab metal detector, end up like a pretzel. I don't really want to do that. So there you go, there you have it. Look up the Knights of the Golden Circle, Frank and Jesse James. And no, I'm not telling you where this is. Because number one, I don't want a whole bunch of claim jumpers. Number two, the neighbors out here that are involved with the Knights of the Golden Circle, they would string me up for sure. With a nice thick hemp rope. No kidding. You keep your mouth shut, boy. So that's just kind of a general attitude. And I hope you learned something. Now look up Jeff Williams. Ask Jeff Williams. He can tell you what all these rocks are. Of course, I'm not going to take a picture of a rock and say, hey Jeff, what rock is this? He's got better things to do with his time than try to identify all my rocks. But if you look at his website, his YouTube channel, he explains a lot of the geology right there on the spot. And y'all can figure it out for yourself. Ask Jeff Williams. Don't ask me. I'm just a crazy old miner out here in the hills. And I couldn't tell you, leave a ride from a Bud Light. This is Eddie Eldorado, somewhere in Eldorado County. Dry diggings. And yeah, you're gonna get dry. Thanks for watching. Adios for now.